Hey guys, welcome to this week's show. Today we're going to take the TRX4 Sport and we're going to add a suspension lift kit to it. This is what normally happened. I used to come to this obstacle and I would always get stuck. So let's see what the lift kit would do in this case. I was searching the internet for some suspension upgrades for the TRX4 Sport and I came across this 3D printed lift kit. It has 3 settings, so let's start with number 1. I'm going to install this lift kit without changing anything to the chassis. So the way this works, you take the screw out, loosen the shock absorber, put this in its place, and then you have 3 settings that you can mount the shock to. Remember the RC toy? I'm using its wheels for a stand now. That car just came in so handy. Okay, I'm going to take the shock out. Put it over there. Then how this works, they come up there in their place, or in the place of where the shock was. Let me just tighten that a little bit. And this goes down, gets secured, and then I have these 3 settings where I can mount the shock so it lifts up the chassis. We're going to start at number 1 because originally the shock was over here, so number 1 is already half a centimeter lower. So let's start on setting number 1 because I actually don't want to be changing the chassis at all. I'm having a couple of issues with the 3D printed lift kit. It doesn't fit properly in here. I've sanded off the sides so that I actually have enough play to fit that. The shock absorber doesn't line up with the holes, so I'm going to either widen the holes or maybe take a bit of material off on the inside so that I have enough clearance for the shock absorber. Now before I go ahead, I actually want to find out how far I can actually lift the car up before the swing arms actually pick up the tires. So I'm going to take the shocks away, and now it just bottoms out all the way. I'm going to place the shocks in here on both sides, lift the chassis up until the tires start lifting off the table. So then on the left side, that is about now. Let me just measure this distance here. It is 1 centimeter. And here it's a little bit more, but this side seems to be lifting first and then that side seems to be going up. So I'm going to be going with this side. So it is exactly a centimeter. And looking at my 3D printed part, the first adjustment is exactly 1 centimeter away from its original point. So if I put that in there, my first setting is actually the one that I want to use because I don't want to be changing anything on the swing arms. I just think the car is too good to be playing around with that at the moment. Okay, I've done the adjustments, just countersinking the holes. Now it's time to install all 4 of them. So let's cue the music. Before I put the body back on, I actually wanted to always cut this little lip off just to make the fender look a little bit nicer. I finally fitted this little lift kit. It didn't fit properly, so it took me a little bit longer than I thought it would, but I had to do some adjustments on it to actually get it in there. Now from the original point, which is up here, to where the shock absorber sits now is exactly 1 centimeter. So the whole chassis came up by 1 centimeter. So the front is 1 centimeter and the rear is lifted by 1 centimeter. So let's connect the battery, turn on the electronics, put the body on. What I've done to the body is I've just trimmed off the fenders a little bit and taken the black tape off. I think the color coding looks a little bit neater. So let's take it onto the track, see how it performs. I do think at the moment the body is sitting quite high. Maybe I'm going to do some adjustments on that, but let's see how it's going to go over this obstacle. I'm mostly excited about this obstacle because I always hook the chassis on this and I always had to bump it over this. Now let's see if I can just manage to drive over it without it actually scratching. Keeping it on the right turn so I can get my wheel onto the peak of that rock. Didn't manage. Let me go backwards just a touch. Try that again. Now I want to film right into the corner to see what the chassis is going to do. Am I going to be able to get stuck or am I going to be able to get out? On my rock roller course there are a couple of obstacles, like 3, where the car always got hooked up on the chassis. Now with a 1 centimeter lift kit, it just drives over and the tires have contact to the rocks at all times. If you want to install a lift kit on the TRX4, I recommend not going higher than 1 centimeter. The car is noticeably top heavy, but it's not top heavy, if you know what I mean. There is a change, you do notice it, you do feel it from its original driving position, but it's not as bad that it's going to tip over. I think if it would be higher than 1 centimeter, you will definitely notice and you just get frustrated again. The other thing is, if you go over 1 centimeter, you will do a lot of adjusting on the front axle, and I think that's just not worth it. Now obviously with me lifting the body mounts to the highest or almost highest position and giving it a lift, a suspension lift of about 1 centimeter, the body does look very high. So I think I'm going to do an adjustment just to the body posts to get the body down a little bit lower, but other than that I think I'm going to keep the bumpers at this height and obviously the chassis at this height, because the car is really performing well right now. Okay, to sum it all up, the car is already really good. Putting a lift kit in, a suspension lift kit in by 1 centimeter is okay. Don't go higher. That's my recommendation. Okay guys, that's it from me this week. Thanks for watching. Click that notification bell, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next week. Bye.